Hey, Curtis, you ready?
Hey, I am Dr. Tachi.
All right, let's go.
All right, let's do this. Three, two, and one.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of And We're Live because we are live. I love that Curtis does the countdown. Even though you all hear that we're doing the countdown, you get the behind the scenes things. Coco 23, Coco, welcome. Thank you for being here on the Periscope side. We probably will have people. Mark Ward is here. How are you, Mark Ward? Good to see you. One of our favorite comedians, jokesters. Good to see you. Anybody that is watching us on YouTube, welcome. And now we have a new, shall we call them streaming partner or whatever? We're also on LinkedIn. Yes, fantastic. We got access to LinkedIn. However, as Curtis comes to the stage, I don't know that we're live on LinkedIn. I can't tell.
Okay, let me verify that.
And it may have nothing to do with us. I just can't see. I went to LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, so where am I? So if
it shows that we are online, so that's
okay. I see us. Yay!
awesome.
Yeah, I see us. It's cycling in it. Yeah, we are live. What's going on?
They probably just had to verify that it was you.
It may have needed to. Nonetheless, whatever the heck, we are live. So what's up to everybody on Facebook Live, on Periscope? What's going on to everybody on YouTube and also our new streaming partner, LinkedIn Live? Welcome to And We're Live. This is where we go through the ins and outs of video and live streaming for you personally and also for your business. I'm Dr. Tachi and I'm joined by Sir Curtis, CPCB. What is your certification?
CBMP is my certification.
And not everybody can get a CBMP. In fact, only one person in the world has a CBMP.
Right.
Fantastic. Paris, Sat K, or Persia TK. Thank you for being here on the Periscope side. So we're going to get to it because what we try to do is in half an hour give you as much information as we can on the world of live streaming because it's important. There is a lot to be done with live streaming. There's a lot in terms of exploration, and we're here to explore it with you. Mr. Card Logic is here too. What's up, sir? How are you?
Fantastic. He's a live streaming guru, Mr. Cart Logic.
I know, right? Fantastic. Oh, and I have to say hello to Rich Quote of mine. Rich and I went to undergrad together. I won't tell you what year, but he is my dear friend and brother. Rich Quote of mine, so good to see you on the LinkedIn Live side. So we'll be cycling through everybody. If you have any questions or any comments, please put them up because we always acknowledge and read them out. But remember, we're going through 4 different platforms now.
Right.
So I have to go to 4 different places to get the information. So what are we talking today, what are we talking today, Curtis?
We're talking about live streaming using presentation aids.
Yes. So here's the thing. Everybody's like, when are you going to get to the actual live streaming? Patience, Grasshopper. What happens is you actually need to prepare before ever you go live, especially if this is your first time. You want to make sure you have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed, or the other way around, depending on how you write, before you go live for the first time, to make sure that it is the most fruitful experience that it can possibly be. So make sure that you do that. Mr. Card Logic says, LOL, I'm MacGyver. I just put things together. Okay, good for you, sir. So let's do this. Today, as we said, we're talking live streaming, and not just live streaming, but we are talking the presentation, the visual side. You live, you visually live. So last time, which was about 2 weeks ago, we've had a 2-week break, we talked about the visual you in terms of what we see about you, your body, your person when you come on, and ways to manage and handle that. This time, we're talking about visuals, but we are actually talking about using presentation aids. So visuals is primary. If we have time, we'll get into the audio side of it, because you probably want to enhance your live stream with something besides you. You may want to use pictures or video. So we're going to talk about using that today. Hey, Tish, what's going on? I see you on the Periscope side. Welcome, my dear. Good to see you. For those of you just joining, my name is Dr. Tachi, and this is Curtis Brooks, CBMP. A designation that he made up, and so he's the only one that he's going to have, but it's a valid designation. And we're talking live streaming. Welcome to And We're Live. Zakia Ringo, welcome on the Facebook Live side. And Mark Ward says he's certified in sarcasm. That, sir, you are.
Yes, he does a great job at that.
You do an excellent job of sarcasm. Beyond excellent. Okay, guys, so let's get into it. So let's talk about presentation aids. A lot of us are using live streaming to not only teach, not only to give information. Sometimes we're there to entertain, right? We're there to maybe persuade. Sometimes we'll talk about those different types of reasons that you may be live streaming in another broadcast. But this time, let's talk about how you use presentation aids to make all of those things possible, to make all of those things come true. If you have a great personality, that's the first thing. That's what can make your live stream pop. But believe me, having presentation aids, other things besides just you, adds to your credibility, right?
You know, what's the main reason why someone would want to have a variety in their presentation style?
Okay, that is an excellent question, Curtis. Curtis is just on point. So basically, let's talk about what a presentation aid is. Oh, and Zakia Gracie says hello. Sorry, Tish says hello
Hey, Tish,
on the Periscope side. Hey, what's that? Yes, and she says hello to you too, MC Curtis. Remember, a presentation aid is anything that visually or audibly represents and makes clear your ideas or clarifies your ideas. It supports your ideas. So you know when you write, for example, remember writing a paper or writing an article and you give attribution, right? Or you give an example. Your visual is like your example, right? It supports what you're talking about. It is right in line with what you're talking about. And here's the reason you would want to use them. Besides support, it's visually interesting. We get bored in 2.5 seconds. All we have to do is drop somebody. If somebody drops something over there, we're like, huh? And it will take us 10 minutes to get back to center. You know what? We're like children. I don't care what people say. You know, you have to rein people back in, right? After all of that. Because just think about when something I love us. So some organizations I'm in, something happens, like something will drop, it'll be loud. People, woo! Oh my God. I mean, and they will be talking about it for the next 10 minutes. It's like, okay, we know it dropped, come back. But that's who we are as humans. We don't know how to rein things in, and we're easily distracted. So to avoid the mundane look of just one thing, of just you on screen, it's nice to have some visuals and to switch back and forth in between that. Now, we'll talk about some of the different things you can do with some of the different encoders, etc., later, and what you could do with these visual aids. But today we're just talking about the fact of using visuals at all. So, Curtis, that was an excellent question. So Mark Ward says, are you suggesting that I am not enough of a visual? Well, the short answer to that is no, sir, you are not. I'm kidding. You know, you are enough. There's a difference, and I was explaining, we were talking about this earlier, the fact that you are video and that you are moving around, like I move around a lot, right? I'm a lot to behold because I'm always using hands and always doing things because I talk with my hands, but I try to keep things interesting as well. There are some people, you've seen some of these streams, Curtis, right? Where there's like a monotony and a monotone, and this is the way they talk, and I can't really change it because this is really the way I talk. I only go, high sometimes and not so many of the time. So kind of robotic, that could not only lull you to sleep, but cause people to leave your live stream. But part of what you can do is to include visuals to add visual interest. We like eye candy, people. So think about visuals as eye candy. Absolutely. Yes. So guys, if you have any questions during the process of this or comments, please put them up because we are doing that. Rich Quote of Mine says, hello and good to see you. We went to college in 2010, was it? No, it was just 2017 we graduated. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
So recent grads, huh?
Recent grads, and we've already amassed all of this edumacation, as you like to say.
Awesome.
Wow. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about that. What are the different types of visual aids that you can use? You probably already know this, and I'm just pointing out the obvious, but maybe you didn't think about it. So that's why we're here, to get you to think about some of these things. So you've got things like charts and graphs, right? So you've got the pie graphs, you've got the bar graphs, you've got charts. And what are those? Visual representations in numbers of the process or concept that you're talking about. Numbers can sometimes make things really clear. Sometimes they can muddy the waters, though, but sometimes they make things really clear when you're able to quantify a concept. So you could use charts and graphs, right? Different types of charts and graphs. Also, photos, right? Video, those are all visual. Models and the actual object. So for example, if I'm talking about a bottle of water, right? And it's, rather than just talk about it, I can show you a bottle of water. Rather than put a picture up there of it, I can actually have a bottle of water, right? So this right now is acting as a visual aid, right? The model or an actual object, okay? And we'll talk about when and how to use these things in just a moment. Also, a drawing or a rendering. Now, that's different from a photo, because a photo is an actual picture, right? A pictorial representation, whereas a drawing or a rendering is generally either hand-drawn, right, or computer-drawn or computer-rendered, right? Hello, Curtis Brooks Media Pro. Welcome on the Periscope side.
Hey.
Bobby Stamps, what's going on the Facebook Live side? And Troy, oh my goodness, royalty, reality television royalty. Troy Duvall, how are you? Good morning to you too. Well, you know, it's morning for you in LA, but welcome nonetheless. So good to see you. All right, so let's keep going. Also, oh, we forgot the most important thing, PowerPoint, right?
Right.
Although, I don't know, how do you feel about PowerPoint as a tool, Curtis?
As we were preparing for the show, one of the things you mentioned is about having making sure that you don't have too much or excessive content on the PowerPoint, and making sure that the font is big enough.
You're jumping ahead now.
Oh, no.
I know you're excited.
But yeah, PowerPoints are great.
As a tool.
Yeah, PowerPoints are absolutely an excellent tool to get your point across. And yeah, I think they're an excellent aid.
As you're looking for Microsoft funding. Anyway, I see the green hearts. Thank you so much.
How about slide presentations?
Oh, James L. Bryant, he's giving the green hearts. How are you on the Periscope side? Thank you so much, sir. Good to see you. So, well, the reason I asked that is because there are other tools that you can use besides PowerPoint itself, the Microsoft property. So again, something like a Google, something like a Google Slides, right?
Right.
That is that. I tend to like, and although I've never incorporated it into live streaming, I'm sure you could. I tend to like emails quite a bit. So remember Prezi and emails, where they're a little more dynamic. So rather than just, you can do different things with PowerPoint, but Prezi and emails just have this dynamic nature where things fly in and out, and it's actually really cool. So those are things that you can use. Now, something that you have to keep in mind with, I don't know if this is the case with Prezi, but with emails, definitely. Emaze, which is EMAZE.com.
I never heard of that one.
Oh yeah. Look, I was always trying to find ways to keep my students engaged, because again, all you need is one thing for it to fall, and they're disengaged. And remember, I would always be tired because I was tap dancing up there to make sure they paid attention, because just because they're college students does not mean they don't need to be entertained. So just because whoever you are live streaming to is an adult does not mean they don't need to be engaged and entertained. Remember that. So tap dance, basically, while you're up there.
Gracie over on Periscope says she uses 365 or the Microsoft, so she's another Microsoft supporter.
Okay, another Microsoft support, 365 Home. And yeah, if you want, go ahead and let us know what you use in terms of that. We'd love to know what works for you.
Keynote too.
You said C-Note.
No, Keynote.
Oh, Keynote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Mac person, I have Keynote.
Right.
Also, Keynote comes already on Mac. Also, OpenOffice.org, right? OpenOffice I've used forever. So they are actually compatible with all of the Microsoft Office. So you can save things as a Microsoft Office extension. So you could save on there as an Excel spreadsheet. So you could do Excel, which is what, XL something. And then PowerPoint is whatever the PPT, right? PPTX.
Correct.
PPTX. So you can save it as a PPTX file, and that will open in PowerPoint if you're using OpenOffice. So just some tricks. So we'll talk about what is the best way to use that in just a moment. I love how I tease things like I'm a newscaster. We'll talk about teasing that soon.
You do that well.
Thank you. We'll talk about that at 11. And I'm like, I want to know now, though, because I'm not coming back at 11. So PowerPoint, like I said, you can use another thing besides PowerPoint. PowerPoint, I think, has just become the generic term for presentation slides, kind of like Xerox with copying, if anybody does that anymore, etc. So think about that. And so what are some rules? There are some rules when you're using all of these things, and I don't think people realize there are rules. And I'm sure we have seen every day people break all of these rules. They've broken them, sufficiently broken them down.
Right.
So what are some of the rules that you can use for this, or that you should pay attention, not just can use? So
maybe,
number one.
Attributions, maybe?
Yes, give attribution.
Mm-hmm.
Attribution means give credit where credit is due.
Right.
Did you draw it? Did you render it? Did you actually take the photo? No? Then you need to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
So that is not just from an ethical standpoint. That's just ethical, but also, what if somebody sees your presentation or sees your live stream and they're like, damn it, that's my picture, right?
Sure.
But if it's out there in public domain, for example, you got it from Google Images or you got it from someplace else, once you give attribution, for the most part, you're covered. So let me take, for example, what I do with Mediascope. I always usually have images up there, right? The images I'm using, though, are coming from the articles that I'm using. You guys always hear me say, according to TechCrunch or The Verge reported, or according to the Hollywood Reporter, whatever I'm using. So you always assume that those images are coming from those articles. I'm giving attribution, giving credit where credit is due. So another reason besides just being ethical is you don't want to get in trouble for using something that you don't, quote, have permission to. But make sure that you are always using something that is royalty free or connected to an article that you may be using. Don't just grab things from anywhere. You have to be careful about the legality of it. Go ahead.
You know what? I think that even if you are using a piece of artwork or a photo or something that was written and you forget to, and you make sure, or you give the attribution, at least you're being respectful of the artist. And so even if the artist does not want you using your material, and let's just say unfortunately, you get some letter that says, from an attorney that you cannot use this information, maybe it'll be just a little bit softer of a punch, if you will, so it won't be such a, bold punch in the face, if you will, in regards to using that content.
Let's just cut this off at the pass. Just don't do it. If you are questioning whether or not you should use something, music is the clearest example with this. Music and videos are the clearest example with this. And in fact, it gets blocked. That's another reason you need to think about these things. These things get blocked sometimes. With images, you don't usually have a big problem as much with this as you do with video and music. And Tish says, she uses Word because she creates flyers, so she then creates to PDFs and then edits the text and images in the PDF. Okay, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Mr. CarLogic says OpenOffice is great and free. Amen to that one. Great and free. Great and free. So again, openoffice.org. Let's see what's happening on Facebook. Mark Ward says PowerPoint, no, with several O's after it. I have an automatic reflex reaction. Yeah, I think it's trite. A lot of people use it as we use a Microsoft property called LinkedIn. But a lot of people use it. We just have to be honest.
See, that's why I was, that was why I came from that angle.
Yes, but we want to tell the
That
truth.
Microsoft.
We want to tell the truth. There's nothing wrong with PowerPoint. Nothing wrong with PowerPoint. But use whatever tools that are going to get your message across the best
The views
way.
of this.
The views of nothing. I'm saying, hey, one of these things like Prezi may not work for you.
Right.
Emails may not work for what you want to do. Find what works for you and use that. Okay. Be open to discovering other platforms as well.
Right.
I'll say that. Oh, and I didn't see that Bobber 4143 is on. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. And K Dream, thank you. Tish says a fan of Keynote or numbers. Go ahead.
I think the biggest thing too. So whether you're using PowerPoint, Keynote, emails, it may just be something that works for you, but then it also may offer different features that one has and another doesn't. So just kind of find out what works best for you.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's what you want to do, what works best for you, ladies and gentlemen. So let's keep going with this. So give attribution. That's number one. Okay. Your first thing is always make sure you give attribution. The next thing is make sure whatever you're using is large enough to be seen by your viewers, right? So in the public speaking world, we always talk about visual aids and making sure that they're large enough to be seen by the people in the back of the room. So pretend your viewers are the people in the back of the room, right? Make sure it's large enough to be seen. Beyond, if you're using a really tiny graphic and it has a whole bunch of lettering on it, how effective is that?
Right.
On top of the fact that people with perfect vision won't be able to see it. Remember, we often have people here who are visually impaired, who will watch these things, right? Who need something a little larger. So think about those as well. Think about your entire audience, not just you, okay? Not just your mom and them.
But it's like you said earlier, it's just the audience only needs just a little bit for them to turn away and say, you know what, I'm not interested anymore, because they can't see, because it could be a lot of different things. But yeah, as Dr. Tachi was mentioning, just make sure that font is big enough or so that the audience can see it and participate in the discussion if need be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the image in general, make sure that is
sure.
The image, the font, whatever it is, that is big enough. Because these are general. These go across all of those visual aids that we just talked about. These are general ones that go across, and we'll break down further in just a moment. So make sure that with your visuals, and we'll re-go over this again, no more than 6 lines of text. We won't go deep into it now, but we'll go into it later. So no more than 6 lines of text. Also, that you use a clear, recognizable font. We'll go into that later at 11. A clear, recognizable font.
I can't wait.
Can't wait till 11. Then people, that's what news at 11. Oh, I can't wait till. Who does that though? Who actually says I can't wait till 11 to? No. But it works because they keep doing it apparently.
Right.
Or somebody likes it. All right. So then the next thing is make sure that you are using images with high enough resolution. When we talk about pictures, which will be in just a moment, we'll talk about what that means, and a thorough explanation. Thoroughly explain everything you're using.
Right.
What I can't stand is when people put things up and they don't understand what it is, so they just don't explain. They just put it up because it's a pretty picture. Right. Then take it bloody down. Take it down.
And you can clearly hear in their limited explanation that they haven't actually researched it,
Yes, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be laughing, but it's like that's when you get a lot of the floundering, and better not to use it. If you don't get what it means, if you don't understand the bar graph or the chart, my friends, please don't use it. It takes away from your credibility.
I'm thinking about all this floundering where at some point they're trying to explain an image, and next they've traveled in a space or a territory. It just sets up. It is totally off the wall.
Yes.
The live stream goes blank. They're embarrassed.
I mean, This is not to say you have to be an expert. We talked
Right,
about
right.
this before. You do not necessarily have to. It's helpful if you know what the hell you're talking about. It's
Sure,
helpful
sure.
if you have a level of expertise. But that doesn't mean, okay, everything that I talk about on Mediascope in terms, I'm not a physicist. I am not a scientist, a social scientist, yes, but I'm not a scientist, a physical scientist. So sometimes I'll be talking about some tech stories where there is something there that that's not my area, but I know it well enough to explain to you what it is. That's what you should aim for,
Right,
right?
right.
A reasonable understanding that you can pass on to your viewers. Otherwise, why are you there?
Absolutely.
Why are you there? Okay, Mike Momo tweet. Hey, how are you on the Periscope side? Good to see you. Also, Daryl S. Winford has joined us, an RG man. What's up? How are you? And Mr. Carlogic says, especially if you are watching from a phone in terms of the size.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent point.
Exactly. And Perry Palace is here too. One of my favorites. Perry Palace, welcome. Good to see you. No, you're absolutely right. There's a few people here on LinkedIn too. Welcome. Feel free to make any comments. Let me introduce us again. If you don't know who I am, you've never seen me before, particularly for LinkedIn since we're new. My name is Dr. Tachi, and I'm a media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, and a journalist, and an avid live stream educator. And I am here with Curtis Brooks from Curtis Brooks Media Productions, who is also an avid live streamer, has its own production company and all of that. We are here to talk to you about, and we're live, the show where we talk all about live streaming tips and tricks and video and such for you and your business. Woo, that was a mouthful.
It was.
Yeah, it was a lot. Welcome back to everybody who's joining us on Periscope. And again, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. We will get to them. All right. Did I miss any? Heather Hutton. Okay, I have to take the time to say hello to Heather. Heather is somebody I met in Atlanta. You guys know I do quite a bit of production in Atlanta, and Heather is Miss Atlanta. She is a filmmaker, a production person extraordinaire, and an artist up in Atlanta. So welcome, my dear Heather. Good to see you. Fantastic. You live long and prosper too. There we go. Perry Palace. Good to see you. Wrong hand, Okay, so let's now go into some things specifically. So for charts and graphs, right? Remember, charts and graphs are numerical representations of the concept you are talking about. They can be exceedingly helpful. If you're trying to show, for example, how many more people use Instagram than Facebook or Snapchat or Twitter, for example, as a graph is very important. You may be talking about this, so finding a visual representation of that makes it live for people. When you see, you're like, oh, wow. When you see that bar is so much higher for Instagram than it is for some of these others, like blackplanet.com or something. When you see it, it's so much
blasphemy.
higher.
That's blasphemy.
Black Planet is blasphemy. Or Friendster, or what was the other one that was music centered? It's still kind of around before Facebook with Tom. Why can't I remember?
Yeah, Tom had like 1 million friends.
He had 1 million friends, and I can't remember the name of the platform now. It got out of control. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? So when you're showing those types of representations, charts and graphs can be really helpful. Let me tell you when they're not helpful. When you can't read them, when your audience can't bloody read them, they are not helpful, ladies and gentlemen. When you don't understand what they're saying, they're not helpful. I think this is talking about the relative obscurity of the cocoa bean. No, you don't know. That's basically what it means. So if you're going to use something, it's really easy to pull something really quickly the moment before, but then that means you haven't had a chance to review this. So unless that's your field and you know it, please review and have a basic understanding like we were just saying. Right. Anything to add on that, MC?
No, I would just say is that it's just really about making sure that you've done your research. And even if you are going to use a graph, as Dr. Tachi mentioned, you may not want to grab the first one. There's going to be tons of different graphs related to the content that you're wanting to discuss, but make sure that you've done the research or got some background as it relates to the information that's being represented on those graphs. So again, have some background so that you can answer or speak intelligent about the information that you're sharing. So that's going to be important.
Preach, teach, reach, and church. Thank you very much, MC.
You're
See,
welcome.
the other show I call him MC. I have to get out of that habit. Curtis. On the other show I could call you MC, but here, Curtis. So Mr. Card Logic says, no Black Planet hate. I married my Black Planet crush. Well, then I'll just be quiet and we'll go on. Good for you. I'm glad it was useful. Mike Mojo Tweets asks, by the way, what is StreamYard? It's a platform that we're actually testing out to see if we like
Right.
it. So that's why you still see the StreamYard there. So we're just testing it out right now to see whether or not we like it. Cameron Scott Mack on Periscope, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you being here. And again, ask questions, make comments. We love all of them. I love all of them. All right. So with CNG, that's what you really need to do. Make sure it's clear as we were talking for all of that. Make sure it's a high enough resolution that it's not pixelated. Make sure it's large enough, but also make sure you understand what the data means. Otherwise, it's an exercise in futility, folks. Photos. Let's talk about.
I think people. I think if you're using whether it be images or data, bar graphs or charts, whatever, and if you don't know what you're talking about, people, they'll catch on. We're not as foolish or silly as some people might think that we are. I think that most people will catch on. It's like, look, this guy doesn't know what that, or this person doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. So,
audiences are very smart.
Absolutely.
Don't ever assume that your audience is foolish.
Yeah.
Audiences, the majority of your audience is very smart. And
Exactly.
so, don't cater to I hate to say it like the lowest among you. I hate to say it like that, but assume that your audience is intelligent, because most audiences are very intelligent. Daryl Hutton, how are you? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say they really are, Tachi, because in most cases, the audience, they're already at a certain level. And so they're hoping that you or I or whoever the presenter or live streamer is, they're hoping that person is going to share some information, some new insight that they have not seen or heard, or maybe it's spoken in a different way or presented in a different way. So again, as Dr. Tice said, don't assume that they're foolish or that they don't know what they're talking about, or talk over their head, if you will. Just keep it simple and keep it plain so that you can understand it.
If you want people to leave, talk over their heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
And Jay is here. Let's say hey to Jay. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, don't talk over their heads. Don't assume that they're stupid either. Okay, so let's keep going with this. We try to keep it to half an hour, which I'm sure we're over, just a little bit over now. So we're going to start to wrap this up soon. And excuse the thunder if you're hearing thunder in Florida in August. It is what it is. So with photos, make sure whatever you're using, and this is kind of a general thing across the board, whatever you're using, make sure it's related to what you're talking about. You think this is common sense, but sometimes you see things that are thrown up there just because it's interesting or pretty, or I'm using this video because, no, it needs to be related. It needs to be used within the context of your discussion, folks. What did I say? The context of your discussion. So make sure when you're using photos that they're within the context of your discussion. And now let's talk about resolution. So MC, go ahead and explain the whole concept of photo resolution.
Well, photo resolution, for right now, I guess a higher image, the higher the image, or the pixels, if you will, be it the width and the height, is going to give you a much better quality of an image. And so, for instance, a image, typically on a digital image, the pixelation is much higher. You're going to get a higher quality of an image. So that means per square inch. Correct, Tachi?
Yes.
Yeah, you have a fixed amount of pixels within that image, within that image. And so the more pixels that you have that will represent the colors and the brightness for each pixel, the higher image you'll have for that particular image. And yeah, that's it.
Sharpness and clarity, basically.
Sharpness and clarity, correct.
So if you go to Google and you just grab any image and you don't look at the resolution, you could end up with something that's like 320 by 240. If it's blown up, it's going to look super pixelated. So keep that in mind when you are selecting images to use. Generally, if you have something that is 720, right, or 1080 by 1260, 12, or something, look for higher resolutions.
Yeah.
1920, right.
Yeah.
1920. So look for higher resolutions. The higher the number, like Curtis said, the clearer the image is likely to be. And it's going to look so much better. You want clear, sharp images. So look for higher resolutions with your photos. Again, so we're looking for, with photos, making sure it's related to what you're talking to, and higher resolution. Now, there are places that you can get good quality, high resolution, royalty-free images like Pixabay, like Upsplash, right? And there's a bunch of others as well.
Yeah, there's tons of others.
Tons of others. So make sure. And if for some reason you're having a little bit of an issue seeing us, for example, on Periscope, go out and come back in and see if that helps you, just in case, because I know somebody mentioned that they had an issue. All right. So now the next thing that we're going to discuss, we're almost done. Next thing we're going to discuss is video. Video is great. Oh, let me talk about this really quickly when it comes to photos. There are times when you need to decide how you're going to present this, right? So if you're using something, and I know that Mr. CardLogic said that he really likes StreamYard, for example. So StreamYard, this is an encoder. You can change things around, right? So Curtis could make me smaller and make himself bigger. We could have an image on screen and make that bigger. So there are things that you can do to change it up. So you need to decide, do I want to make my picture full screen? In which case resolution is critically important. And then make it full screen and then come back, right, for visual interest. Right. Or do I want to minimize myself and make the picture bigger for visual interest? If you're using something like, a Wirecast, you have the ability to put this picture over the shoulder. Do I want to put the picture over the shoulder? So think about what you're talking about. Think about who your audience is and what the appropriate layout is for that. When we actually get to the actual streaming technology part, we can talk more about that, but wanted to put that in because that also determines the resolution of the pictures that you get. Right? So, okay, video. Let's talk about video really quickly. Great. I love video. You can include video in your live streams, right? If you're using an encoder, it gives you the opportunity to use video or to include video. Again, make sure it's appropriate for what you're talking about, that it's related to the context of what you're talking about, right? SYL, SUH, thank you, Silsa, I think. Thank you for being here on the Periscope side. Make sure that it's related to what you're talking about. Videos need to be queued. Nobody wants you to scrub through the entire video while we're watching for you to find what you need. So get the time code. Watch the video ahead of time. For example, if it's a YouTube video, it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The part you need is at 1 minute 10. Make sure it's queued to that point before you get on, right? So that you're not sitting there scrubbing through while we're all wondering what the heck is going on. Right.
I think if I could just interrupt for a moment, I think that
you may.
Appreciate you. I think that it's completely just really important, and I think what we are kind of saying here essentially is that you're mindful of the audience's time. And so, as Dr. Tachi just mentioned, if you are not prepared, you don't have the video queued, or you don't have your presentation ready, be it PowerPoint or the plethora of other slide presentation platforms or apps or software out there, if you're not ready, you're essentially wasting someone's time, because if you're coming on live, you should make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and T's crossed, ready to do that live stream, ready to engage. And so it's going to be super important to make sure that you're not queuing the video up while you're doing your broadcast. Just make sure that you're ready.
There's a lot, ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot to live streaming. So you're wondering why we just didn't talk about live streaming right away, because you have to prep to live stream. And the better prepared you are ahead of time, the smoother your live stream is going to go. Oladele, welcome on the Periscope side. And guess who's here on LinkedIn? Miss Eileen. Hello, Miss Eileen. The live stream yourself. Thank you for being here on the LinkedIn side. Hello to everybody that's on the YouTube side and those of you on the Facebook side as well. So moving on, make sure, let's talk about video. Video, you can get dinged with very easily on Facebook, right? On Facebook Live.
Right.
Also on not Instagram so much, but on
YouTube.
Facebook and
YouTube.
thank you, YouTube. Didn't hear you the first time. On YouTube, you can get dinged for that. How do you avoid this ding? Well, turn the sound down. Turn the sound down and explain over the video. If you notice, this is what they do on the news. There is an awful lot of video that they did not shoot that they use if they're talking about a story like an upcoming movie. They also do get permission to use it, for example, if they're doing a trailer or something to that effect. But sometimes they don't have time to do that. So what they'll do is they turn down the sound and talk over the video, explain over the video, so that you're not using the entire thing. And then there's only a certain amount of time that you should use as well. For an effective live stream, if you have a 5-minute video, don't play all 5 minutes.
Right.
Okay. And again, it depends on what you are live streaming about as well. There are certain, there are people that you show certain things and it's appropriate to do a little longer. And it depends on the platform. So let's be clear, Periscope is a little more lenient with things than YouTube and Facebook are, right? And I'm guessing LinkedIn as well. So you just have to be careful of that thing. But one way to cut down on getting dinged for copyright infringement, turn down the sound and talk over the video.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think too is that I think the point of what Dr. Tachi is saying is that it truly is about engagement. And so even with the video, you may play the video for a few seconds, 30 seconds, but you don't want to play it too long. Well, and it's for the sake of losing your audience. So once you play that video, maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds, you want to come back and maybe talk about the video or ask questions in regards to what was shown, or again, to just kind of further along your discussions. So again, it is just about engagement and not losing your audience, because once more, it only takes a little bit to lose them. So
we are fickle individuals.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, all you need is this much and you've lost them all. So sorry to say that, but it's so true. So, the same thing goes in a way for models and objects. So when you're using models or actual objects, right, depending on, so you want to talk about a car. You may not have access to a car. You need to do it inside. You can't very well bring a car inside your studio, your small studio sometimes. So you can use a model to explain things. Be very sure of what it is you're trying to explain with it. Same thing with a model, same thing with a rendering or a picture. Okay, so all of those things we talked about apply to that. So finally, when we talk about presentation slides, whether it's PowerPoint or whatever you're using, 6 lines of text. I said I was going to explain this. With the 6 lines of text, you should have no more than 6 lines of text. Why? Because it becomes visually boggling for people if there's too much text. 6 lines, you should be able to say what you need to say, right? Don't put any more than that on there. Condense what you have to say, because you then are explaining. So you just have those texts. That text are just visual reminders of what you're going to tell your audience, right? So you expand upon that a little bit. You don't need to write it all on a slide. In fact, I'm telling you, do not read it all, put it on a slide. I'm telling you that
or just
now.
read it to your audience. And you're like, what?
Don't do that. In fact, I forbid you. You hear? I forbid you to read to the audience. We can read it ourselves. And if we were going to do that, then you didn't have to come. All you needed to do was send it to me, care of, whatever the case may be. So don't read to your audience off of your PowerPoint slides. They can see what it says. What you need to do is explain what that is. So you have that 1 line of text in there. Explain what that is. Okay, so number 1, such and such, such and such, and then go into your explanation. You're expanding upon it, but don't read word for word, which means don't put everything on there, which is why we say no more than 6 lines of text. Spell check and grammar check. It happens. You have typos in your presentation. This happens all the time because we're moving so fast and there's so much going on, but there's always 1 or 2 or 3 that will point it out, right?
Absolutely.
That will point it out, which is another thing. Try not to do these things when you're tired, because you don't catch these mistakes as readily when you're tired. So think about trying to do this, as much as possible when you're fresh. Pay attention to that red underline that has popped up. That means there's probably something misspelled. Okay.
Right.
Read it aloud. Look, I can't say this enough. I always tell my students, my college students, to read their papers and things aloud, because you catch mistakes when you read things aloud. I always thought, I'm like, did you read this before you gave it to me, or did you just write it out and thought it was fine? It was the latter, I can tell. So you don't want that feeling with your presentation. Make sure that you read it aloud, right? So you can catch any grammatical or spelling mistakes. And then the last thing is that to make sure that your font is clear and legible. Things like Arial, Times New Roman, Helvetica, Garamond. Nice, clear. It can be serif with the little tails or sans serif without the tails. But you want to make sure it's something that's clear, legible, and recognizable in a sense, right? If
what
you're
about
using
the wingdings?
No wingdings, no wingdings, no Comic Sans, no bubble letter. Don't do any of that fancy stuff, because it's difficult sometimes for people to read. And if I can't read what you're trying to tell me and you're not explaining it, I'm leaving.
Absolutely.
Okay. As a viewer, that's the feeling. So those are just some tips. We just wanted to cover some basic tips today as we foray deeper into the world of live streaming and effective live streaming. Your presentations aids are everything, because they support what you're going to say. They lend visual interest to it, right? So that's it. That's all we have to say. MC, anything else that you wanted to add?
Great show. Enjoyed
okay. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think this part of the of our series thus far is all of it's been important, but you just want to make sure that you are again, as we've kind of pretty much just a brief summary, is just make sure that you are engaging with your audience. And I think overall is that, as Dr. Tachi mentioned, is that we all like the shiny things, even as adults, and we like things to look like they're going somewhere. So a lot of times that when people are talking with their hands, it's the same thing, where it's that I'm going to keep you engaged. If I don't have the maybe the lower thirds or logo on the screen, or different titles that come on the screen, I want to keep you engaged. I want to make it seem or to appear that you're going somewhere with me, and along with this journey, this story that I'm sharing with you. So again, it's about engagement. Keep your audience engaged. Keep them engaged in the sense of Dr. Tachi mentioned with the presentation. So you might want to pop in on the presentation with picture in picture, if you will. So again, all of these things are about engagement. Keep the instruction or the presentation, keep it moving forward, and making sure that you are involving them, asking questions, and just not wasting your time, and make sure that you are prepared.
Absolutely. It's audience-centered approach.
Yes,
you don't want to waste the audience's time with this. And before we go, Heather Hutton has a question. She says, if you have a low resolution PDF, is there any way you can improve the resolution? Type it over. If it's one that you didn't provide, there's really not a whole lot you can do. I don't know if you know of any tools. It's different from a picture. You know how you can sharpen pictures a little bit? You can sharpen video, but those are like tricks to fix something that's already not great quality. So the best thing is saying, this from film, Heather, it's easier to, fix something that was already done correctly, but you can't fix something that's beyond repair. So if it's a low resolution PDF, what I would do is take that information and maybe create another slide with that information on it and talk about that rather than using a low resolution PDF. And in fact, a PDF is probably going to have too much information on it. So here's the thing. So some images people save as PDFs. What you want is a JPEG or a PNG file, right? So you can transfer that or export whatever it is from, say you're using Preview, right? And on a Mac, you can actually select to save it as a JPEG or a PNG file. This way it's easier to use because I don't think you're going to be able to really use PDFs very readily and easily with some programs. So it's best to have a JPEG if you want it to be an image, right? Or go ahead.
No, I was going to say on Mac, I'm not sure about PCs, but on Mac, there's several PDF programs or software applications where you can actually edit the PDF. So if you're able to edit the PDF, you might be able to bring up the resolution within
Yeah,
that
you could,
PDF.
if it's a PDF that's a writable PDF,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
may be,
correct.
yeah, you may be
Exactly.
able to do that with the
Right.
program. But
Right.
again, if it's going to take you more energy to do that, then just get the pertinent information you need, put it on another slide,
Right.
and present your information that way. That's what I would do. So,
Exactly.
yeah. And then Grow the Heck Up, thank you for being here. Sunshine, thank you for being here. Mr. CardLogic says thank you for sharing with this information with you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And JB Dairy, thank you. And Silsa said thank you. So glad to join. We were happy that you were here. And let's see, are there any other acknowledgments that I would? Yeah, let's just acknowledge everybody. Thank you to everybody who watched us on Facebook Live, on Periscope, on YouTube, and our new streaming place, LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys. So until next week, where we continue to talk a little bit more, we're going to talk about visuals more, but this time we're going to get into sets and setting and creating a great space for your live stream. Remember, we're still preparing the live stream. We haven't done it yet. We want to get you prepared before you hit go live.
Yeah, news at 11.
Or 12.
Right.
So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Ciao.